Senator Byron Doggin from North Dakota, senior ranking member in the Senate at the time, majority and also minority. When he left the Senate, he, similar to yourself, he became an author. Similar types of, I don't know if senators just have it built up in them, spy, thriller novels, but anyway, he actually spoke unfiltered when he visited, and he basically said that he's been quite disappointed in President Obama's performance. What is your opinion of the past 6 years?
Okay.
And that was from a Democrat, which would.
No, I understand, and I've always tried to be as nonpartisan as I possibly can be on the big issues. I had and still have enormous respect for the president's intellect. In the way in which he's conducted himself in terms of how he comports himself. And I will never forget the year 2008. I was in Seoul, South Korea, and I was at a meeting with former heads of state. I'm not sure why they invited me. I thought they may have thought I was Joe Biden. But they asked me to go, and I did. And I was sitting at this table, and this member who was in part of the South Korean cabinet, he said something that stayed with me. He said, you know, if Barack Obama is elected President of the United States, it will be the, and he used these exact words, the reaffirmation of the American dream. And I said, well, why do you say that? He said, because if you can take a first generation African American who becomes President of the United States, then anything is possible. And I thought about that, what he meant to the world at that time, to say this is really what the American dream is all about. And that is taking anyone and unleashing their potential to become as good and high as they can possibly be in our system. That's the American dream. It should be everybody's dream. But that's what we represent to the world. I'm disappointed in the sense that President Obama doesn't have what President Clinton had. And that is, I don't think he likes the part of the job that is dealing with people he either doesn't respect or doesn't like. Most presidents of the United States don't have they have what we call a minimum of high regard for members of Congress. And that's just the way it is. Presidents, executives like to make decisions. Congress, isn't in the business of making quick decisions. It's debate, it's dialogue, it's quorum calls, filibusters. It's trying to build a consensus, and most executives, really aren't enamored with that. I think President Obama shows it, whereas others try to at least pretend they like doing business with the co-equal branch of government. And I think that's a mistake in that sense. I think it's really important that you make people feel important, make members of Congress feel that they matter. Shine their shoes, invite them down to the White House, even if you don't like them, if they're not going to vote with you, have them down anyway. Really try to cultivate some relationships. It's the old axiom, you make your friends before you need them. And he has not gone out of his way to make friends. And a lot of it, frankly, it's not his fault. There's been a lot of racism involved in opposition to him from the word go. I think he has been demeaned by a number of members of Congress who have shouted out liar in a joint session of Congress and other things. So there's been a strong racist sentiment that's been directed to him. And he's managed, I think, to be pretty gracious in the face of all of that. But I feel that power unused is power abused. Mm-hmm. And I want to see more power used by the president in terms of dealing with people. And I think that has been, if I point to anything, I would say that would be the one thing that I wish he had done differently. But you can't be who you aren't. And so Bill Clinton, he is a master politician, but he loves people. And as a result of that, even Newt Gingrich, you talked about Newt Gingrich before, Newt Gingrich used to say if he had a meeting with President Clinton down in the White House, he'd have to go back to Capitol Hill in his office and detoxify for 3 hours, because Clinton was so, persuasive, so personal, so gripping you. And we used to have a story that President Clinton, he was always 20 minutes late, always 20 to 30 minutes late. But we forgave him for that. Well, we had no choice, so we had to be there on time. But we forgave him because we knew what he was doing. He was touching every person at the meeting previously, making sure he made contact with them, inquired about them, and that's the humanity in him. And so it takes a special person. I don't think you've seen anyone like him. Reagan had obviously a touch of that in terms of his personal communication skills, but he was nowhere near the kind of individual interested in you or people he was meeting with that Bill Clinton was. So it's not often you find people like that, but President Obama is extraordinarily smart. I think he's had difficulty, and people have had difficulty in kind of breaking through. He's got a very small, narrow circle of advisors. I think it's significant that he's had 4 secretaries of defense, 2 of whom have written books before his term has ended. I think that's significant of something. But he is the first to come from pretty extraordinary beginnings, and who would have thunk that someone named Barack Hussein Obama would be elected President of the United States? So that was a strong message to the world that we are capable of allowing people to rise to their fullest potential.